very early age, I was more like an artistic mindset kind of guy. I love drawing, I love sketching, I love,
Right.
most of the arts related stuff. That was the moment, when technology was also emerging up. And once I decided, to get into my university, so that's where get this all drawing sketch towards the design side. So I moved slightly from that artistic side to the designer side. And then, as soon as I get deeper, I love programming, and that's where, the whole transition moves up.
Hey guys, and welcome to the Grow IT podcast. One of your hosts here, Tragana King. And today we are very excited to have our guest, Mr. Arslan Ihsan from Ado AI. And today we'll be diving a bit into his story as well as what it is his company does. And then, as always, some engaging insights into the technology industry. So make sure, trust me, to stick around for this one. But without further ado, Aslan, welcome. Thanks for joining, hopping on today. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Trek. It's such a pleasure to be with you here today. And thank you so much for having me.
Oh, lovely. If you don't mind, if we can, kick things off, if you could kindly introduce yourself and, just tell us a bit about your background.
Sure. So, my name is Arslan Ihsan, and I help companies to stay future proof so they don't end up like Nokia and Yahoo. And when I said, future proof, that means utilizing all the cutting edge technologies to stay ahead of technology and, embrace it in the best way. I also enable them to achieve exceptional business results through the smart use of cutting edge technologies, all the way from AI, data, cloud, and other emerging technologies. And if I talk about a little bit about my background, I was primarily an artist turned into a techie. Started my role as a designer all the way to backend developer, mobile developer, then jumped up a little bit into the project management role. Then I happened to be a CTO of a small firm, worked there for quite a long time, and then I started, one small startup led towards the entrepreneurship journey, and then I happened, to bump into the Ado's co-founders, and that's where we get started Ado AI, and now it's more like 350 people, where which are spread across the globe, and we are providing professional services globally.
Goodness, you've got an interesting background. That's you, you've been
All
around
right.
the block, sir. Oh my word. The geez, what a colorful background, man. That's awesome. But tell me, Aslan, how was it that you? I mean, you've like you said, you don't necessarily typically come from building up from a, let's call it, a IT perspective from the beginning. What was it that like sparked your interest initially? What happened that made you so passionate about what you're doing?
Yeah, so I guess it's, since very early age, I was more like an artistic mindset kind of guy. I love drawing, I love sketching, I love,
Right.
most of the arts related stuff. And then, and that was the moment, when technology was also emerging up. And once I decided, to get into my university, so that's where I felt like, okay, let's, get this all drawing sketch towards the design side. So I, moved slightly from that artistic side to the designer side. And then, as soon as I get deeper, I love programming, and that's where, the whole transition moves up. And again, that was a time, when I was in my university. I happened to I love playing games at that time. And then that was a moment when I developed a game which got a lot of popularity. I got some acquisition offer at the time. And that's what, which literally turned it into a full-fledged techie guy, moving and building multiple different companies.
My word. Uh, Tell me, based on your expertise, like you mentioned earlier, it's you've got quite a different type of verticals in Arrow, right? Whereas you were talking about AI and security as well, and a couple of other things, But based on your expertise, what are like the current market trends that you're aware of? What ways are the wind blowing? What have you been picking up? What's out there lately?
Yeah, so I guess if we speak about, like, it all started with, that typical software engineering and that kind of stuff. And then that's something, which started transition towards that cloud wave, and everyone rushing towards, the cloud side. and most of the emerging technologies was happening over there. And now, if you speak about, then the Web3 came over, all that metaverse thing, right? But if you speak about the 2023 and 2024, this was the years, which were completely blown away by generative AI.
Yeah,
And the way, generative AI is performing, it's changing our lives. It's something, which literally change the perspective of how IT is emerging. And now, if we speak about, the more emerging trends which are on the way, so I'm gonna list two things. One is more about agentic AI. That's a new era. I'm like, at least I am foreseeing like the hype of agentic AI or the productivity by utilizing that is going to be explosive.
mm,
So that's one good thing which is going to happen. And then another one is definitely around the quantum computing, which is also getting some good hype nowadays with Google's recent discoveries. So I believe these are the two things which are going to change the future, and they are primarily the trend changing thing which are going to happen in the future.
very interesting. Talking about AI, I mean, it's obviously a buzzword now, right? And a lot of founders has got these interesting takes on it. Whereas if I can draw a line between conversations and make a majority conclusion, a lot of them tends to tell me that it's like they are cautiously optimistic when it comes to AI, right? What is your take on it?
So I guess like there are so since we are into the professional services firm, right? When the AI buzz came in, we started working into AI when it was just not more than a buzzword, and that's where we get started and starting implementing it over. Now,
Mm,
if we speak about in the recent era, we have been implementing it into multiple Fortune 500 companies, and this is the time when everyone is start seeing results through AI.
mm,
And I guess it's more about the approach. It's not just about directly jumping into the tools or directly jumping into some specific AI use cases. Most of the companies which are which get failed to realize all the benefits of AI, they didn't get that holistic picture that
right,
where those new technologies are going to come over, or you can say that they failed to recognize the real business value. And that's where mostly we come up with that AI strategy a pillar, which we get started at very start. And there are multiple different pillars of AI strategy where we talk to all the business users, understand what are the gaps into the processes, and then what are the infrastructure gaps, what are the data gaps, how should the data governance and the rest of ethics look like. And that's how we frame a holistic AI's winning strategy for the
mm,
clients. And once the strategy is there, they know that what is the ROI which they can achieve through that. It becomes much more easier for them to implement it. And then even with the implementation, we go phase by phase all the way from POC to MVP, starting realizing the value out of that, and then
right.
ultimately developing up an AI factory for them, which act as a hub for developing all the future AI use cases for them. So in that regard, it's generating a lot of value. So most of my clients, they are all from Fortune 500 companies, and every single one of them is ending up saving multi-million dollars using the AI.
Using the AI. Tell me, I think this is maybe a good time, if you don't mind. You've obviously touched a bit on it. Just to explain to the audience, what is it specifically, if you don't mind, just to elaborate a bit more on what is it specifically what your company does.
Oh, for sure. So we like most we usually get started with the consulting. And when I said consulting, like most of the clients, they come to us like since you do have the industry exposure, you have been implementing multiple different solutions cross industry. We need someone fresh to come in and understand our core problem statements. And that's where we help to develop them a 2 years, 5 years AI or data transformation roadmap. That's the first thing that we develop for them. Once the
Right.
roadmap is there, then we have them to implement all those AI use cases as well as data platforms to reduce their bottom line, to increase their top line, and generate some good winning ROIs for them. So primarily, we provide professional services across cutting-edge technologies, which are most related to cloud, data, artificial intelligence, generative AI, agentic AI, as well as some of the biz applications.
Applications. Would you agree, listening to you now, would you agree that, I'm looking from a value standpoint, would you agree that one of your biggest value from a third party now I'm looking in, right? One of the biggest value, significant value that that your business brings to the table is that it's a consolidation of services that you offer for a company. At the moment, the way I see it, because there's so many factors that you guys obviously challenges that you can resolve for your clientele.
Yeah. So, if you can just, come, I didn't get the question. If you can just come out one more
Sure.
time.
No, yeah, no, I'm thinking from a value standpoint, would you agree that one of the significant values of your company is that because you offer such different verticals, it's easier for companies to make use of you guys for the reason that you cover such a big array of things when it comes to specifically the IT department, of businesses, as opposed to some companies might just specialize in cybersecurity, and others might just do data, and others might just do AI, right? So, I think you guys bring all of that together. Would you agree? I think that's one of the strong value points you guys offer.
Definitely. So there are like 3 points which I would like to specifically highlight around this one. So most of the companies they choose us because we do have a very diverse, you can say that knowledge base. And when I
Mm.
said diverse knowledge base, it's more like implementing professional services from multiple different industries. So that means like we get to know what are the key trends which are happening across different industries into
Yep.
the technology standpoint. Second part is more about applying multiple solutions or multiple use cases for that same specific industry verticals. This is, the second kind of value proposition which we do have for implementing it over and over again for multiple agencies. And then the third one is specifically around, you can say that bringing up the fresh perspective and fresh consulting perspective. So most of the organizations they struggle up with, they are working within their own specific business areas. They're just interacting with their own people, and then they don't explore all those pain points which exist within that organization. So with all these three fresh perspectives, when we come in, we talk with each of the departments and understand what are their current state looks like, how does they compare up with the industry benchmarking, and what
Right.
are the real gaps which exist over there. And once we identify those gaps, it becomes much more easier to take it from there.
Mm.
That by resolving this gap you can get X million dollars ROI. By resolving this and this gap you can get these X million dollars of AI, like additional ROI. And that's something which becomes more easier to implement that roadmaps through the implementations.
Implementations. Like you mentioned, Aslan, you guys do business globally, right? I mean, you're quite the jet setter yourself, right? So, traveling all over. But from a market point of view, are there like certain size of companies that you would say typically this is the majority of size companies we work with? Or if you don't mind, just to explain a bit from the certain markets that you guys target as a company, or is it just everybody because everybody needs this, right? Um,
Yeah. No, I guess so. If I speak about, there are multiple different catalog of solutions, which fit for some specific organizations. So, for example, whenever I talk about AI strategy or data strategy or that kind of strategy consulting pieces, that's something which mostly hit for the Fortune 500 companies
right,
across USA, across Middle East, as well as in the Asian region. And now we are expanding more towards the European side as well,
right.
along with some of the top government agencies too. But when we speak about, the other implementation pieces or along with the data platforms part, that is also something which stays on the larger organization side. While there are also range of other use case implementations which come towards small and medium organizations too. And of course, when we speak about most of the biz app implementations or smaller AI use cases implementations, that part which we usually do for the startups. But over core, target audience, that's more about government agencies as well as some of the Fortune 500 companies.
Got it. I'm thinking now about the smaller companies, the smaller markets you mentioned now. I mean, especially regarding those markets, I think you guys can play an excellent role, I suppose, when it comes to companies that that wants to scale as well. To make sure that they are in that space to make sure that they are will be able to take the growth, right?
Yep.
I
So
think
I guess
that's
one of the things, which we really do with the smaller companies, like since we do have, they do have very limited in-house teams and, capacity in that particular sense. And then they cannot put too much on the research and R&D division, and they cannot hire, some of the top-notch industry-specific experts, right?
yeah,
So
yeah,
whenever we come, enabling those particular industries, it's more like we deploy some of the AI agile pods, or you can say that some of the agile parts, which is a combination of cloud engineers, maybe data engineers, artificial intelligence guys, along with the project manager, a mix of the team, which would be self-sufficient to develop their multiple different use cases, along with helping them with their software or data platform implementations. And one of the unique thing which over agile parts do is they work with their team as one unit. So
right,
throughout the execution of those implementations, they do pair programming, they enable their team, and not only enabling their team, another good part is more about those agile pods are very closely supervised, as well as governed by some of the top executives like myself, along with the rest of SVPs and the top-notch people that we have, and
mm,
that's how small firms or mid-sized firms or any even the large scale firms which don't want to develop some of the dedicated units in house, they are
right.
utilizing our team to fill in those gaps.
Very interesting. Then, in your opinion, Islam, what type of mindset would you say is like needed to be a successful founder of a company like yourself?
So that's a good question. So there are
It's a loaded question, right?
yeah, there are multiple things into this, right?
Yeah.
So I guess one part is, whatever you do, you have to be extremely good about it,
Right.
right? And when we speak about good about it, you need to pick up a good niche or market. And then you have to train and nurture your own talent. So whenever you commit something, you should be good enough, to deliver it up and back it up with all the right talent. So I guess that's one. The second one is more about if you are into consulting and professional services, you have to develop some really good relationships with your client. You need to see what the value is in there. Since we are working with multiple different tiers of clients, maybe the manager and senior manager and then director, VPs all the way towards the
Yeah.
C-suite, right? So you should always advise the best for that organizational interest, right? That if there is something which is good for that organization, you should only advocate that part to win the client's interest as well as to show them the real ROI. And then I guess it's more about generating some good value for them. If you are generating that value, you are there and spot on. And another thing is more about innovation, and that is all about since we are highly focused on ROI, increasing ROI for our clients. So we also focus on how we can literally improve the productivity. So, for example, all of my team, they are, very well equipped with AI and generative AI. Then they're literally using all the AI tools as their co-pilots, to deliver at 2x speed. Not
Yeah.
only that, they're also, well trained for, the data governance, the data security, and that kind of stuff. And on top of that, we have developed series of in-house accelerators which literally help most of our clients, to leverage those existing accelerators and build their solutions on top of that, which is not only saving a lot of cost, but also significant time for them as well. So I guess these
Right.
are, just a few of the things which, as a founder, you should definitely keep in mind.
Very much profound. Aslan, before I let you go, tell me where can the audience where can they get hold of you guys?
So we got to our website, edu.ai. Apart from that, feel free to find me on LinkedIn. I'm quite active over there.
Excellent.
I'm sharing most of the articles, recognized as a LinkedIn top voice. Also, I'm an active contributor on Forbes Technology Council as well. And yeah, most of my articles are also going to be in there as well. And feel free to reach me over on LinkedIn. I'm just a text away.
Thank you very much for coming on and providing us all with this very much valuable insight. And I truly hope I can get you on again. You're a busy guy. The next time I see you, most probably will be in a different country, but I hope to get you on soon.
For sure, track. It was very interesting conversation. Really glad to meet you.
All the best. Take care.
Perfect. See ya. Bye bye.